They didn't remember his name when he needed them. They didn't ask if he had eaten or slept, or even if he was okay. They never wondered what he was holding in his heart, what kind of storms he was walking through, or how many nights he had spent staring at the ceiling, hoping someone would just careful once they were too busy, until they needed something suddenly. They remembered him. Suddenly, his phone would ring suddenly. He mattered not because of who he was, but because of what he could give. They didn't love him. They used him. And when he had nothing left to give, they disappeared, and he was left in that same silence. He knew all too well the silence of being forgotten until it's convenient again, the silence of being surrounded by people and still feeling completely alone. And for the longest time, he let it happen because he thought that was love, because he thought being needed was the same as being valued. But there came a day when something inside him broke, not like a shatter, but like a slow, silent shift. He stopped picking up the phone. He stopped answering texts that only came when someone was desperate. He started listening to the emptiness around him and realized it was more peaceful than fake conversations and forced smiles. He realized that love that only arrives in moments of convenience is not love at all. It's manipulation. It's selfishness wearing the mask of care, and he was done with it. He had always been the one who gave first, who poured out his heart, even when his own cup was empty, who stayed awake, talking others through their storms while drowning in his own. But he finally understood that if he didn't protect his own peace, no one else would. If he didn't respect his own worth, they'd keep writing him into roles he never agreed to play. And so he chose himself not out of pride, not out of anger, but out of survival. He chose silence over noise, solitude over fake company, peace over conditional affection, and the world didn't notice. Not really, because the world only noticed him when he was useful. They only missed him when they needed him again. They didn't care why he stopped talking. They just cared that he stopped giving. But this time he didn't bend. This time he didn't explain, because he didn't owe anyone that anymore. He owed himself the truth. And the truth was, he deserved better. He deserved people who showed up without needing a reason, people who remembered him not for what he could do, but for who he was. And until those people came, he would walk alone, and he would be okay, because walking alone in truth is better than being surrounded in lies. He looked back at the people who once said they'd never leave, and realized they never really stayed. They were just passing through, staying long enough to take what they needed, and calling it friendship, calling it love, calling it care. But he now saw the difference between presence and purpose, between being around and being there, and he stopped accepting half-hearted apologies and temporary affection. He stopped apologizing for growing, for changing, for finally choosing to not be the easy option for everyone else. And it hurt. Oh, it hurt more than anyone will ever know, the kind of hurt that doesn't scream, but lingers in silence. The kind of pain that teaches you not how to fight, but how to heal. And not everyone understood his silence. They thought he was bitter or cold or distant. But he wasn't. He was healing, and healing sometimes looks like disappearing. It looks like quiet days and heavy thoughts and not replying, because you're learning how to talk to yourself first. And he sat with that pain. He didn't run from it. This time he let it tell him everything he had ignored. For years, every red flag he painted green, every time he told himself it was okay when it wasn't. And somewhere in that silence, he found strength. Not the kind that looks like power, but the kind that looks like peace, the kind that can sit in it room alone and not feel empty anymore, because you're full of your own worth, full of the understanding that not everyone who smiles at you loves you, not everyone who calls you brother is your shelter, and not everyone who reaches out is reaching. For you, some are reaching for what you can give, and that's okay. He's not angry anymore, just aware of the difference between being remembered and being valued, between being needed and being loved, between being used and being chosen. And now he waits not with desperation, but with dignity. He waits for people who speak your name, even when you're not in the room, who check in, even when they don't need anything, who listen, just because they care. And until then, he's okay with being unseen by the world, because he finally sees himself clearly for the first time. He knows he's not cold, he's careful, he's not distant, he's healing, he's not selfish. He's just done setting himself on fire to keep others warm. And when people say he's changed, he doesn't argue. He smiles a little, because yes, he's grown from a man who needed validation to a man who values silence, from someone who gave too much to someone, who finally understands the power of holding. Back from being remembered only in times of need to being someone who now remembers himself every single day. And that kind of change is rare. It's powerful, it's painful, and it's necessary. They remembered him when they needed something, but now he remembers what that felt like, and he'll never forget it, not because he holds grudges, but because he holds lessons, and those lessons have rebuilt him not into someone bitter, but into someone wiser, stronger, softer where it matters, and harder where it's needed. And that man, that version of him, doesn't chase, doesn't beg, doesn't explain. He simply grows and moves forward. And anyone who truly cares will catch up. And anyone who doesn't was never meant to be there in the first place, because from now on, he refuses to be the one they remember, only when it's convenient. He's the man who finally remembered himself, and that changed everything.